Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Debra Eckerling, author of Your Goal Guide and creator of the Deb Method for Goal Setting Simplified. You can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. So every week I bring together some of my people to dive into a topic. And trust me, I'm sorry, couldn't help it. Today we're going to have a wonderful conversation about trust. And I know you're thinking, oh, of course, you need to trust to work, to whatever. But there's so much more to trust than we think, or at least I think we'll find out. I've got a wonderful panel today. I have with me Barbara Drady, and I'm trying to remember, like through different loops, you found me.
Yes, I trusted somebody, and then I found you, Deborah.
And then we have Jim Fuhs, who has not been on the show in a while, and it was one of those things. I got an email from him, and I'm like, oh, he's perfect for this topic. So I'm really happy to have you here. And again, another opportunity to reconnect. And then Larry Levine, who I also have like a gazillion people in common with, but a shout out and thanks to our friend Bryn Tillman for making that important intro. And Larry, who's the author of Selling from the Heart and another upcoming book that I will let him tell you all about. But it's all about the connecting, the trust factor. So we've got to a hat tip to Larry for inspiring today's topic. And you may be watching this as Gold Chat Live. You may be watching the replay. You may be listening to us as Gold Chat on the Marketing Podcast Network. But no matter how you found us, we are so glad you're here and choosing to trust us. Okay, I'll stop with a wonderful conversation. Before we dive in, I would love for you all to share who you are and why this topic is so important to you. So, Barbara, let's have you kick us off.
So I'm Barbara Drady, and I am the founder and visibility specialist at Visibility 360. And I connect experts who are best kept secrets, invisible to the world, to top media outlets. And the reason I do that is so that people will trust them through social proof.
Simple. I'm all about the goal setting simplified. And I love that because that's really what it boils down to is like, let your connections help you make the best connections.
Exactly.
Jim, welcome. Great to see you.
Great to see you. And I'm Jim Fuhs. I'm the president of Fuhsion Marketing. I'm a retired Marine Lieutenant Colonel, and so my tagline is I do marketing the Marine Corps way. So if you want to have a conversation about that sometime, we can. And I've really been focused on remote live stream production, as well as I became the affiliate manager for a SaaS company called Relatable, which has created a new category, which is interactive video relationship software. I'm really excited about that because that's all about building trust.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And Larry?
Oh, hey,
who are you?
First of all, Debra, thank you for having me on your show and entrusting me with your audience. I appreciate it. My name's Larry Levine. I'm the co-host of the Selling from the Heart podcast, the author of Selling from the Heart, and the subtitle is How Your Authentic Self Sells You. I'm a big believer. You must bring authenticity to the forefront if you want to connect with somebody and build trust. And I'm the proud second-time author of my upcoming book, Selling in a Post-Trust World, which comes out actually next week, August 13th.
Who would have thunk it with the timing, huh? And I joke. I mean, we're having a conversation about trust, which we can all agree is one of the most important elements because you can't have basically any kind of relationship unless there's that trust factor. But what is trust, Larry?
Oh, well, first of all, I see Chris Stone's in chat. Chris is a great guy. So glad to see Chris out in the audience. I appreciate you. Chris is a great guy. I think I'm not going to give I'm a pretty simple person when it comes to building trust. And I think first and foremost, trust is simple as, do you see me? Are you listening to me? Do you value me? Do you know something about me? And are you making me feel comfortable enough that I can open up and share what I call my business secrets with you?
That is simple. What? Now, well, we'll go into why people have such a hard time with trust in a little bit. Uh, you've kind of built your shingle, though, on the value of trust. Was there something about trust that you said the world needs more of this?
Well, I'm a sales geek at heart. And so I've grown up in the sales world. I spent 30 years in Los Angeles selling office technology. So I sold copiers, probably one of the most highly commoditized dog eat dog industries there is out there. And I learned a long time ago that it wasn't about me, it was about them. And I'm a very curious nature. I love asking questions. I'm a high clarity guy. So early on, and when I say early on, I'm talking in my 20s, I would just be asking people, what do you like? What do you don't like about salespeople? What causes you to buy from a certain person over another certain person? And I don't know what made me do this. Is just I just wanted to know. And so I started to make a laundry list of all the things that they liked seeing in salespeople, all the things they didn't like. And I did something really ingenious. I just did the complete opposite. So all the things that they say they didn't like, I just flipped it on its head. But what it really boiled down to is I knew the faster I connected to somebody, the faster I related to someone, the faster I built trust, things sped up. Because I had this I'm a big believer perception's reality. At least that's how I view things. That's what I believe in. And I knew that there were so many negative connotations with salespeople. And they've been burned more times than not by salespeople. And unfortunately, I throw a really hard stake in the ground on this. The reason why there's so much lack of trust, especially in the sales world, is salespeople, sales leaders, sales managers have done it. It's how they've portrayed themselves. Yeah. So go ahead.
No, I absolutely agree. And I'm fascinated because I did something very similar to you. I was the first woman in the wine business. I drank for a living for more years than I like to admit.
Okay, I want after the show, I want some tips.
Right.
I want tips.
You got them. You got them. But I was.
Why wait until after the show? But we'll get there.
Well, get out your bottle of Pinot Noir and we'll finish the show.
All right. Now we're talking.
You were saying.
So I was the first woman in the wine business. And to build the trust was very difficult because at first it was, what do you know, lady? You know, I was selling into a world that was basically a liquor world. It was a spirits world. The guys who sold liquor had a lot of class. It was all low. I liked them all, but it was. They knew nothing about wine. And I had to build trust over years and years and years. And I did the same thing you did, which was I flipped. For those people I didn't trust, I did exactly the opposite because there was no one who I could follow in her footsteps. So it's however we learn it. There is something else, I think. I think if you are basically someone who trusts, and I trust you first. You know, once you do something wrong, then shame, once shame on me, and then, twice shame on you or whatever, the other way around, I think.
Shame on you, shame on me.
Yeah.
Right.
So I open myself up to people. So, and I think because of that, I gain the trust much more quickly. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I feel. So
you would say that trust is?
From my perspective, it's giving. For me, I trust people. I give them a chance and let them prove otherwise.
Okay, so trust is giving people a chance.
Yep.
Simple. I like that. And Jim, do you have another take on what is trust?
Yeah, I think for me, trust is about, it's your word, it's your bond. In the military, you've got to trust those people on your left and your right, especially in life circumstances sometimes. And a lot of it is about, if you say you're going to do something, you need to do it because there's people relying on you. And whether it's in sales, and I think this kind of goes back to what Larry had said as well, is that, I'm going to buy from someone because I trust them, not because I think they're just trying to make a buck. And trust makes it become a relationship versus transactional, right? If you're just in it to make a sale, am I going to trust you? I'm going to see through that. But I mean, we bought our last car, and you could say the sales lady got our trust because we actually wanted a more expensive car, and she talked us out of it. And she told us why this other car was better for what we were trying to do, which we ended up getting a hybrid instead of like one of those hybrid plugins. And he said, it's going to be harder for you to get the range you want. Here's all the benefits. And so she could have made more money because we were, bound and determined to do that. So I think trust is about, giving people your word and knowing that ultimately, when you say you're going to do something, you do it. And if you do mess up, that you're honest about it and you say, hey, look, I know you trust me, but I screwed up, and take the responsibility, right? And don't try to hide it.
Exactly.
Well, I think what ties into what Jim was saying is integrity. And I think trust and integrity are kind of go hand in hand. And it ties so nicely into what Jim was saying is I'm sitting here listening to it and I'm going, integrity, integrity, integrity. It's about doing the right things right, even if it costs you. And I think, and I'm going to make this sales centric just because that's the world that I grew up in, that I love so well, is it's not like that. If you look at the trust barometers that are out there, whether that be Edelman or whether that be anything that's driven from McKinsey and some of these global research firms, trust in sales is at an all-time low. It is really, really low. And it doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't. It's just that for me, this is the golden opportunity. This is a golden opportunity for sales professionals to shine and rise above the noise. It's interesting because I've always asked this question, especially to salespeople. Would you rather be viewed as being liked and being viewed as friends, or would you rather be trusted and viewed as being credible? And you can't have both of these. It's an either or. And everyone always goes to trust and credibility. But yet so many in sales hover around, oh, gosh, I want to be liked and I want to be friends. No, you got to learn how to build trust real fast and be viewed as being a credible resource.
So Larry, let me ask you a question, if you don't mind, Deb.
I want to see if it's the one I was going to. You go first.
So I'm very curious. You said in a post-trust world, did that come about with COVID, where we weren't actually connecting with people face to face? Is that, or when do you think that happened? I guess I see that so much of it is that people aren't accountable because you're not in the same room. So
here's what's interesting. I have built some of the most trusted relationships I have today, and some of these people I have never met face to face. Literally, I've never met some of them face to face. Some, and I'll call them some of my closest friends that I've opened up to and I've shared my deep, dark secrets with and things like that. I've met one or two times, but I could pick up the phone at 3:00 in the morning and they're not going to let it. They're going to answer it.
So when did the post-trust, at what point did that start to turn away? You say,
I think lack of trust isn't something that just all of a sudden just crept up in the sales world. This thing's been brewing for decades and decades and decades. It just so happens that I might be known as a smart aleck every now and then, and I write direct. I speak my mind. I speak from my heart when I say there's no pun on the book. But I believe post-trust was a word of the year. I want to say probably 3, 4, not even 5 years ago. And so when I was putting together my second book, I looked at this as, the foundation, the root cause of all of this is people are skeptical. The BS meters are at an all-time high. And whether this be in sales or whether this be in life, there's rampant amounts of skepticism. People just don't trust people. There's very few people that we actually probably do trust. And so as I'm putting together the book, I just had to come up with a catchy title. And seriously, I mean, I'm being totally transparent on this one. I just say, hey, we're selling in a post-trust world. And it gets people to think. It gets people to think on how important trust is. We must bring trust and slap it right up on the business table. Because if not, things are going to slow down to a screeching halt without it.
Larry, do you think a
So-
lot of this has to do with technology too, because it's allowing us to like use that as a shield? And like, you know, Chris was even saying in the comments about like now people are using AI to create their persona and not really being them. They're like, oh, well, AI told me to say this. And then I think for me, and I talk about this with Peter, the founder of Relatable, if you sent me a video that was made by AI at pretending it was you, and then I find out later that wasn't really you, I'm not going to trust you as much as if I knew it was really you. And so I think that's where I see technology has caused a problem, and if you want to call it, with post-trust, because, you know, people are keyboard warriors. They're not, you know, really being honest about who they are. And what's funny, going back to what you said about me, I've never met Debra in person. We've become friends all through technology.
And we were at Social Media Marketing World together, I believe, once or twice, and did not meet there.
Right.
We met after that. But it's true. What I was going to ask is, and I'm really, you didn't mean to pivot, but it actually plays into my question. You know, that whole phrase about know, like, and trust. When did that start? Because that's been a buzzword for at least 10 years, maybe more.
Yeah, you know, so here's what's interesting. I mean, it's a buzzword. I mean, it's obvious. People do business with people they know, like, and that's going to be around forever and a day. I don't know when it started. I have no idea. It's gonna still be on long after we're off this planet. But we have to make it a little bit more relatable. I'm going to use Jim used the word relatable. I'm good. Oh boy. So I'm a massive believer. I mean, let's just play on this for a second. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. But in today's world, 2024 and beyond, you got to be real, you got to be relatable, and you got to be relevant.
Agreed.
And if you're not in one of those buckets, you're just running around as one of the nicest people on earth, but you got to be real and you got to be relatable. You got to be relevant in somebody's eyes. So we just have to modernize this whole know, like, and trust a little bit. I'm a massive believer in it, but we just got to throw the R's in there.
Okay, so your take on know, like, and trust is real, relatable, and relevant.
Yep.
So let's
Jim?
go back to the 3 R's.
But that was reading and writing and arithmetic.
Do you have a phrase that you want to replace know, like, and trust with, Jim?
No, I actually like what Larry said. I never really thought of it that way. And I don't remember if it was because I took a Dale Carnegie course, I'll just say a long time ago. And I think even back then, they talked about how when you build a relationship, building that know, like, and trust it's not about you. It's like, I want to get to know about Larry. And Larry is going to like the fact that I'm interested in him, as opposed to me like, well, wait, let me tell you all the things I do, Larry, because that's, you know, the what they say, the most pleasing sound to a person is their own voice.
Yep.
So it's hard sometimes to make that switch of, you know what, let me listen and learn about, you know, about Barbara, about Larry. And eventually, if they're a good person, they're going to come around and say, hey, I'd like to learn more about you. And I think that goes into trust. Like if all you ever do is talk about yourself, my BS meter is really going to be off the charts, and I'm not going to probably want to have a relationship with you, because it's like, oh, all that person ever does is talk about themselves. And so I like that real, relatable, and relevant. I think it actually adds to the know, like, and trust. I think they work together.
I agree.
I was going to ask what you think, Barbara. You agree? Anything to add? Or I'd love to know. Well, anything to add?
No, I think I think the gentlemen have covered it very, very well. Thank you, guys.
And here's something else. I mean, if you allow me, I want to go back. I'm an avid book reader. I love reading books. I'm a big Dr. Henry Cloud fan. And about 2 months ago, I wrote a book that he wrote titled Trust. Ironic. And he had five pillars of trust. in there. And the third pillar of trust, and I think plays into what we're speaking about, is he called it track record.
Okay.
What is your track record? And that's why, again, a tip of the cap to a dear friend of mine, Mark Hunter, says your reputation arrives before you do. And this plays into track record. What's your reputation? And, in the world we live in today, I think people are clamoring for it. It's so interesting. I'm a big Darren Hardy fan, and I get his daily little pearls of wisdom. And I can't remember when this came out. This is probably years ago, but I'll paraphrase what he said. He goes, "It's easier for people to be inauthentic than it is to be authentic." And this plays into trust. This plays into connectability. This plays into the real, relevant, and relatable. Is we just have to take a step back and go, look at the track record. Look at how many times people have been burned. They get their guards up. So when they've run across somebody who carries themselves with high levels of trust and are being really authentic, it's like almost A, you're an outcast, which is sad. But then B, is somebody goes, is that real? Please tell me when this is going to stop.
Right.
If y'all get what I'm saying, right?
I do.
This is too good to be true. And this is why I'm a big perception. And we just got to understand that whether you're in sales or not, you got to understand perception plays a lot in somebody's thoughts, feelings, past experiences, and so forth to determine if you're someone who's trustworthy. That's why the very first interaction you have with somebody, that's flashing through their head, lickety split.
And you keep saying, if you're in sales, are we not all in sales? As a consultant, as an author, as an entrepreneur, no matter what you're doing, there is that interaction-y thing, right? That we're all doing because we want to build relationships, or as I say frequently, you can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. So you need to constantly be developing those relationships with people. So how do you strike that balance of, okay, I'm going to be authentic? Well, first of all, when you say I'm going to be authentic, it almost feels like making that into a sentence. It's setting you up for something, right? So how do you bring out your authenticity without seeming like you're too, and is there a point where it's you want to reveal just enough but not too much?
Well, without being out in front in any situation, in any sales situation, you sell yourself first and then you sell your product. And how you often sell yourself is by asking the right questions. And if you have to think about being authentic, you're not. You've got to be yourself. You've got to come out and say things. And sometimes I say to people, I'm very blunt. So feel free to come back at me, but I'm going to tell you what I see. I'll give you my best advice, take it or not. And so much about the trust factor is why I do what I do, because there are just so many people out there, I usually work with professionals in medical field, legal field, coaches, consultants. And there's just a myriad of people out there. How do you stand out? You stand out by the media saying things about you. So you become relevant, you become the expert, you become seen without having to blow your own horn. And that's how, if you're dealing with top media, they aren't going to endorse you if you're not relevant, relatable, and real. Was that the other one?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's the realities of life. So I haven't met you guys before, so this is very cool. I'm enjoying this.
Well, unless it's on purpose, I do this on purpose. I bring together people who are new friends, because isn't that why we're all here, is to grow and learn.
Absolutely.
And build upon and also make friends we hadn't met before. So there you go. Jim, what do you think is that balance between too and not enough?
Well, I think for me that what I've struggled with in a sense, because I did have a career in the military, is I say I don't like sales, but I think the reality is, right, and I'm in the Amazon influencer program, and what's funny, Larry, is Chris is my partner in that. We're co-host on my
Nice.
podcast, so we talk about small world. And I think it's that whole thing of when you're talking about something, this kind of goes back to what Barbara said. When you talk about something you really believe in and are passionate about, it doesn't feel like sales. So like if you ask me like, hey, how can I sound better? I'm going to tell you, well, here's some options, and it depends kind of on your price point. But I can also tell you, you can do it as easy as just with your camera and decent audio, and you just make sure you have good lighting, you make a good video. You don't have to go spend thousands of dollars. And so when you tell people that, they're going to trust you. You say, hey, this person's not just trying to make a sale for the sake of making a sale. And so I think that becomes part of that. That authenticity is, my view is, if I'm going to say from sales, is my goal at where I am in life is I just want to see and help other people succeed. That's what brings me joy. It's not about how many millions of dollars can I make and that sort of thing, because I think we've all learned over time, and we know that Barbara and Debra, the two youngest here in the room, that there's more to life than just money, right? And I think sometimes people in sales get caught up in this, like, I got to make these goals and I got to hit all these things or I'm not successful. And I don't think that's the case.
You know what? You have to get up every morning and look yourself in the mirror and do you like that person? Or if I could never cheat on my expense accounts, because I'd look at myself in the morning and say, not good. But I also think if you believe in what you are doing, I would have difficulty selling something that I didn't believe in. And I think that is also, then comes from your heart, from your gut. I want you to have this because this is what I think you need, Jim. I mean, Larry, this would be great for you. If it doesn't fit, okay, I get it. But, I think this is, tell me what you need. Tell me what it is that you want to see. So
I got Debra. I mean, I got to throw this out because I'd be curious everyone's thoughts on this. And this is what's just racing through my head. I get these wacky things racing through my head, and this is just like one of them, especially around trust. It's how many of us trust ourselves. And
I raised my hand.
Yeah.
But it takes a long time. And I'm going to tell you this, and that's why I think the subtitle is Selling from the Heart so powerful. It's how your authentic self sells you. It requires a lot of work. People aren't willing to open up the cupboard and look inside of who they are. Because sometimes they're afraid of what they may find out. But it's hard to build trust. And I can't scientifically prove this because I have no PhD in any of this. It's just my own thought process. Is if you don't trust yourself, if you haven't gone on that inner journey to really uncover who you are, it's going to be really hard to connect and relate to others and build trust and build relationships and grow sales. So I think it requires a little bit of self-evaluation, if y'all know what I mean. And if you can't trust yourself in certain situations and all that, right away, that should be a red flag going, I got to work on some of these things prior. Again, that's just how I think, but I could be totally off base on this one.
My big thing is you can't get what you want unless you know what that is. So a lot of goal setting experts and people who've listened before who know me, like Jim, know I say this a lot. So many goal setting experts, I'm doing the air quotes, are all about, the final thing, the carrot at the end of the rainbow, or whatever analogies that I am completely mixing up. But if you don't know what drives you, what the mission behind what you're doing is, what are you doing? So everything, this is my way of saying, yes, and to everything you just said. And I think that that's where people trip up, is they're chasing after either a past dream or something someone wanted for them, or where their education has taken them, and they don't have that fuel or that passion behind what they're doing. And when you have that, and then you've got that fuel of trust, I mean, is there really anything stopping you? It wasn't rhetorical. It was an actual question. Is there anything stopping you?
I think the only person that stops you is the person in the mirror. And I
Yep.
think, you know, and I, you know, lost my dad a few months ago. And I think one of the things that I saw in his life that I don't want to repeat is, you know, you've got to keep pushing yourself to get better. I mean, and that some people may say that sounds crazy. Well, yeah, don't you want to retire and do nothing? No, because I think once we stop trying to get better at whatever it is, we start to die. That's my perspective. And I think,
I agree with you.
you know, so the goal is like, how can I get 1% better each day? And it doesn't always have to be in the same area, right? Maybe tomorrow I'll get 1% better at picking out wine because I met Barbara. You know, things like that I think are important, you know, but I think that, you know, to Larry's point, you know, we got to, you know, how do we trust ourselves, right? Because I think that is that, and a lot of it is maybe things that were said to us when we were younger that we don't even remember, but that impacted us in such a way that, you know, sometimes we do need therapy to figure out what that was, but that's what's holding us back from being our best selves.
And well, first of all, I'm really sorry about your dad,
Yeah.
Jim.
Thanks.
Second of all, you bring up a really good point, and I'm going to turn it into a question. So, other than or in addition to, you know, therapy or getting outside assistance in this matter, what are some things people can do to increase their trust in themselves?
Well,
Larry?
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, this is the first thing that comes to mind because I believe there's massive power in this. You got to go ask your friends, your family, your close inner circle. And then I'm even going to go one step farther, your clients. And you just start asking them. You got to, I mean, I get deep pretty fast with people just because I'm comfortable in asking the questions that nobody asks. But I'll even sit down with clients and I'll just say, hey, describe what trust looks like. How would you describe it? What words would you use? And the reason why I'm asking is it's my goal with you to continue to build on our trusted relationship. So if I'm veering off course in any way, I hope you'll share that with me. And then, because I believe that you can get a PhD in just life and in business just from your clients if you're willing to ask in your close inner circle. Ask them their viewpoints on trust. How do they determine it? How do they build it? What's it look like? What words would they use to describe it? How do they know they're in trusted relationships? What's the triggers? And that it just comes from a curiosity mindset that I have, but I love asking questions like that. A, because I want to know, but B is this strikes up some massively great, in-depth, deep conversations with people.
I can definitely see that. For me, trust in myself. I always had confidence in myself, but completely trusting myself came from facing death 10 years ago, and really weighing everything that could happen, and deciding how to go forward, and asking all of the right questions. And I not only changed things for me, but I changed the way that a hospital in Northern California now deals with cancer patients. So for me, I like the idea of asking other people, but I'm all about, and I will do that, Larry. I think that's a great idea, but I've always gone internally and asked myself those questions.
Are they the same questions that Larry asked, or are they different?
I think they're different questions, but
such as,
I mean, questions as much as if I were if I were somebody else, would I trust you? You know, how did you handle that properly? You know, all of us walk away from a conversation with a friend, with a client, with somebody, you know, with somebody in a retail store and say, I could have handled that better. I could have said this. And then I, you know, go back, and a lot of times I apologize, and a lot of times I just readjust for the next time.
I like it. And I thank you for sharing that deeply personal experience that you had, but also the important part is, you know, what you got out of it.
Exactly.
Is knowing, and when you know you've got the power to make change, that's a huge boon for trusting in yourself.
Exactly. And seeing, I see things that I never would have seen before. You open yourself up to more positive living.
So Jim, same questions.
Yeah, I think that sometimes we ask ourselves questions differently than we would maybe ask people around us. And I think the challenge with those around us, you know, like a lot of times, you know, if you want to call it, the joke is, you know, when you start a business, don't invite all your friends to follow you on your business on Facebook, because even though they're your friends, sometimes you're making them uncomfortable because you're trying to go somewhere that they either don't want to or don't understand why you want to go, like say to a different place, you know, if you want to talk about the 5 people you surround yourself sort of a thing. So they may actually try to drag you down. So I think that can be a challenge because they don't have the same mindset as you. So I think that's where you really have to have someone you can trust. Now, like in my case, I can tell you one of the things that I love about my friendship with Chris Stone is we do tell each other what we think. And we'll say like, you know, hey, how did I do on this talk? And we'll talk about like, oh, you know, you might have repeated this word a lot, or you know, you could do this to look better on camera, do this for your lighting. So, and we don't take that as criticism. We take that as, you know, ironing, sharpening iron. And I think that's where if you have that person or persons that you truly trust, then I think what Larry said is absolutely 100%. But it may not always be the people you think it would be.
Hey, so that's interesting. You got to peel that one back. I like what you just said.
Yeah. What you mean as far as, well, because I think as an example, if you look at maybe, like in my case, I was the first college graduate in my family. You know, my dad was an hourly worker his whole life. So he didn't understand the idea of like, well, why do you want to start a business? So if I were to come to my dad and say, hey, Dad, I'm starting a business. He's like, well, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to be in charge? Why don't you just, you know, show up, punch the clock, you know? So for me to go to him and ask him, you know, hey, Dad, what should I do? He'd be like, well, he's not really going to help me. Right. But then Chris and I, who both, you know, have gotten into having our own businesses and then starting to work together with things like, you know, deal casters and doing remote production together. It's like, hey, how can I do this better? What do you think? Right. And getting that feedback and then deciding, well, how can I implement that? How can I make myself better? Or, you know, seeing the other person doing something like, hey, you know, you trust me. This is something I see you've done that you might want to think about in the future. You know, even like you said, the way you sometimes come across when you meet people, I think sometimes we don't always, you know, think about that. Like we said, we probably all know those people that come in and want to be the center of attention. So maybe sometimes it's better just to come in and say, you know what, when you walk in a room, don't feel like you got to say something right away. Just, you know, read the room, I guess maybe be the way to look at that. So I don't know if that peeled it back any, Larry, but
no, it did.
And having an accountability partner is amazing if you can develop that kind of relationship.
I mean, and even my wife, right? And I give her credit for this, you know, because I used to go to, I guess you could say, I used to go to a lot more conferences, and I'd come back and she's like, well, what did you get out of the conference other than like getting to talk to Larry and Barbara and having a drink with them? Like, did you get any new business? And so a lot of times we're like, well, no. So then why are you going? I was like, oh, that's a good point. I mean, because there's probably events I should go to, but it's like I'm going to the wrong room, right? It's kind of like if Larry goes to a book selling conference and everybody around him is selling books, that's not probably the ideal place for Larry. It's probably going to a place where people want to learn about selling from the heart. Because now they're like, oh, I want to talk to this guy. I mean, that's where I think I kind of look at it from that perspective of, because my wife, she'll support what I want to do regardless, but it's just good for her to give me that kind of that grounding of like, yeah, why am I spending all this money to go to a conference that I'm not really getting anything other than seeing people that I can just, get on a StreamYard or a Zoom with and still have the same conversations.
That makes a lot of sense.
I have a take on this, but I want to see if Larry does before I jump in.
No, go ahead, because I'm going to probably take this in a completely different direction, but I'm curious your thoughts, and then I want to throw something in.
Okay, because I always believe every interaction, every conference, I do goal workshops, but I also do event outcome optimization. So when you go to events, when you have a plan, you're going to get the most out of it. So I don't think that's ever the right answer. I'm going in one direction. We'll see if Larry follows. I don't ever think any kind of event is a waste of time. That being said, I love the internet because I have met and developed so many more relationships because of it. The book that I'm working on right now, I've met so many people through the people. And you don't get that if you stand in a corner. So part of it is you kind of have to own going out and seeing where relationships go. And I'll bring it back to trust. When you are your best you, when you know who you are and you're out in the world, then you're going to attract your good people. Now, what made me put the three of you together? It's just what I do. But I love it when I've got these panels where people from different areas, and the fact that Jim and Larry don't know each other, but they have so many common people, is just kind of mind-blowing. But when you are the best you doing what you love, you're going to have that trust in yourself, and you're going to find those best mutually beneficial relationships.
Well, so it's interesting. You never know who knows somebody who knows somebody. We've just proved this out on our time together. First time I've laid eyes on Barbara, first time I've laid eyes on Jim, but yet I look down and I look in the comments and I see Chris Stone's name pop up. Chris, if you're watching, I know you're smiling. And I've met Chris in person in Atlanta. And then I've met Chris on a couple virtual calls and some podcasts that I've been on. But you never know who knows somebody who knows somebody. So when it comes to networking or how you ever want to slice this up, is you never know when one conversation is going to lead somewhere, one connection is going to lead somewhere. But I always try to put myself in rooms where I can put myself in proximity to people who have power and influence. And that's been my big mantra. I don't go to every networking event. I don't go to every thing that's out there. I'm going to play on what Debra said. I'll let the internet do some of that and just put myself into rooms and things like that. But when it comes to growing my business, I want to be in rooms full of like-minded, like-hearted people. And my business coach has always taught me proximity is power, right? You got to put yourself in proximity to people who have power that can get you somewhere faster, better with the fast pass. And that's now, and I've got to play on what Jim had said. That's why I really believe that you got to find the right places to go where you can meet the right kind of people instead of just going to meet people.
Yeah. And I agree with that 100%, Larry. And I think that's what Chris and I looked at is, I used to go to, I'll just say, certain conferences every year, and I would meet people and I would make some good connections. But when I really look at it, because I do some marketing, it's like, well, why am I going to marketing conferences when I should probably go to a conference where people need to meet marketers? And that's where I'm going to make, and I love your whole idea of, I want to get in proximity to people that know people that are going to make things happen. I mean, and that's sometimes some of the, I guess, the thought process behind these closed networking groups. It's not so much that Larry needs my services, but he knows someone that needs my services, and he's going to refer me because we've built that know, like, and trust. And he's also seen that I'm real, relatable, and relevant.
Okay, I like how you wrap that one in there, Jim.
And real.
I like it.
I want to use you all as a real live example. What is one thing that you need? We're just going to I'll do a quick round robin and then we'll get into gifting goals to people. But what is one thing that you need that will be helpful for you and your business? I promised Barbara I wouldn't make her go first, so I'm going to make Larry go first.
Oh, you know what? I'm not at a loss for words a lot of times, but wow, I think you stumped me on this one.
Yay me.
Serious.
Well, and this is what, and I do these mixers once a month for potential guests because I can't have people on the show unless I've met them because, you know, I'm bringing friends together. You need to be my people and then you could be my people. But this is whenever I'm in a networking situation, I like to ask this question. What is it you need? Because as connectors, isn't that what we can do is we can bless people with introductions to the people who need them. So we'll come back to you.
No, it's really interesting. As I stop and I just think about it, is I don't reflect on that much, because when I'm talking to people, I always want to know how I can help and how I can be a resource to them, and maybe that's high contributors, right? So my why and my why operating system is I'm a massive contributor. So contributors are givers. And so I'm always wanting to know, what can I give Barbara? How can I help Jim? What can I do to be a resource to Debra? So when I'm asked that, and shame on me, I just don't think about it all that much, where I have a list.
Okay, I will answer the question for you. I'm
okay,
happy
please
to.
do.
Well, you've got this wonderful book coming out. Does anybody have any introductions in order to elevate your book? So I asked the question for Larry. Is that a good one?
That's a good one.
Well, Larry, is your book going to be sold on Amazon?
Yes, but wherever fine books are sold, as I've been told by my publisher.
Right.
So,
well, because, you know, me and Chris, we do a live show on Amazon, and we could have you on and we could talk about your book.
I love it.
That'd be great. On all these other places.
By the way, I think, and if Chris is still lurking in the background, I think I've been on somebody's show that's similar to that had a Chris Stone flair to it.
I wouldn't be surprised, because he does a lot of production for some of these folks that you probably, I mean, some of the folks you mentioned, I know he knows all of them.
Yeah. He knows some of the people I know.
Yep. So
let's see, we made matches.
By
the way, Jim, don't be surprised, because I've got a book coming out in January that I'm going to throw that request your way as well, please.
Yeah.
Barbara, is there something you need?
Yes. As a result of working with me, people are recognized, rewarded as the experts they are. I'm looking for individuals who want to have consistent client flow, consistent income, and need to be out there and need my assistance.
And who is your ideal person? What is the persona?
The ideal client is an independent professional. So it's somebody, I've worked with large corporations. I've worked with people like Oracle and GE. It's the independent professionals who need the help, who need to be recognized so that they can get the kind of authority that the people who can spend millions every month on advertising.
So bringing it back to someone who knows themselves, who's very ambitious and loves what they do, would be a really good fit for you.
Right. And knows they're an expert, but the world doesn't know. So, and unfortunately, if you're not visible today, you're invisible. It's just the way.
No one wants that. Jim, how can we help you?
Well, I would say, as the affiliate manager for Relatable, I'm really looking for companies and individuals that see how video is important to growing their business and growing their relationships through interactive video relationships, not just interactive video, but the ability to make it a two-way conversation. So folks that are, kind of ahead of the curve and not, people that are afraid of video, they would take longer. So people that are like, how can I be more powerful with my, my video to get out there and really connect with people?
And I know a ton of people, Jim.
Okay. So, awesome.
The magic.
We'll do some intros.
The magic is already here. Larry, did you come up with something better for you, or was mine okay?
No, we're ready to go. I'm just going to introduce Jim to Chris Stone. That's how I can help Jim.
I appreciate that, Larry. He's hard to get a hold of.
This is why these conversations, I mean, we go deep and we go wide and we go fluffy and we go fun. I mean, is that not the beauty of Goal Chat? What I'd love to do is have you all gift a goal to the audience. So what is one thing that they could do today, tomorrow, immediately, either to be more trust aware or trust more in themselves? Jim, what goal do you want to gift?
Okay, this is going to be, it's going to make some people nervous, but I'll say, take your phone out, put it in, I guess, vertical mode, record yourself for a couple of minutes, telling people about who you are, what you do, and upload it to your LinkedIn profile.
Ooh.
Don't even have to go live.
So you can record it as many times as you want.
That's right. That's right.
And how long should these videos be?
I think a couple minutes. I think I just need a couple minutes to do that.
And do you have any other particular hints about what's going to make this video amp up your trustworthiness factor?
Well, Larry said it earlier, be real, relatable, and relevant.
Hey, say that one more time, Jim. That just sounded really
real,
good.
Relatable, and relevant.
There you go.
By Larry Levine.
We definitely have a subtitle for this conversation. Barbara, what goal do you want to gift?
I've got many. So the one that I would suggest is looking at yourself and see whether or not you can trust, if other people can trust you. If you were looking in, would you trust yourself? And if not, make some adjustments.
Ooh, so an easy one.
Right. Super simple.
But it's important. And if the answer is no, then what can you do in it? You don't have to do everything all at once. Just make little adjustments until you, right?
One of the things that I find so interesting is that so many people don't look you in the eye. And I think a lot of that comes from texting, looking at our phones, whatever. But I think that would be the first thing that I would say. Do I look people in the eye? Because as they say, the eye is linked to your soul. So.
Okay. So we're going to upload ourselves. Maybe we need to look at ourselves in the mirror first.
Make sure your hair is done and you've got, don't have any.
No, I mean, make sure you like who you are and you're trusting within yourself.
Right.
Then you will be able to bring that out in this video that you upload of yourself. And Larry, goal to gift?
It's real simple. I would be asking myself every single day the same question. What do I want to be known for? Bust out an index card. This could be like the power of I am statements, but this could just be a simple, you just write down on an index card, this is what I want to be known for. And you come up with 2 sentences. This is what I want to be known for. And you read it to yourself every single day. And there's power in this. And the reason why I bring this up is A, I do it, but B is I play on my values and I write down my values every single day and I look at them and then I just give a brief description around each value.
I'm going to ask, what do you want to be known for?
I want to be, I want to be known for somebody who kickstarted a movement around bringing authenticity and trust to the forefront to help salespeople become even better than they are today.
Love it. Barbara, what do you want to be known for?
I want to be known for helping as many people as I can in whatever ways they need help. Jim, Larry, we'll talk wine, but for everybody else who needs help, I'm here, and this is my number 5, my 5th entrepreneurial
Is that all?
experience. Yeah,
That's awesome.
adventure.
Good for you.
Yeah.
And Jim, what do you want to be known for?
Well, I think the one thing I want to be known for as someone that is always known for helping other people succeed. And I would say the second part of that is I want to be known as someone that is a voice for veteran advocacy.
So good.
Yeah.
So important. Okay, friends, this has been great. Where can people learn more about you and what you do and connect with you? We're on you, Jim, so let's just keep going.
Well, you can go to fuhsionmarketing.com, but I'd say the best place to connect with me is on LinkedIn at Jim Fuhs.
Great. And in the recap, which will be at thedebmethod.com/blog, I will have the links to everybody's website and everybody's LinkedIn. So, Barbara, where can people learn more about you and how you help others?
My website is visibility-360.com. And my LinkedIn is LinkedIn/Barbara Drady, which is always a trick. People spell it, I'm Brady, Brandy, whatever. So it's D, not like the guy who played for the Patriots, not Brady, Drady.
Oh, how many times, Barbara, have you said that one? A time or two?
Oh, well, I go to get on a plane and they'd say, "Oh, Mrs. O'Grady, this is, whatever." It's just kind of D as in David, Okay.
And Larry, where can people find you and learn more about you and your books and everything?
So I'm gonna give you a completely different answer since you already have all of my social media links. That's going to be in your show notes and all that. How about this? Because I know everyone's got them. Just break out your mobile device, open up your text portion of it, text the word trust to 21,000. So that's just text the word trust to 21,000 and you can find out anything you want to find out about selling from the heart and selling in a post-trust world.
Cool. Very cool.
Okay, and that's text trust to 21,000.
Yes, that's correct.
Shall I put that in the show notes as well?
Absolutely.
Okay, you got it, friend. There we go. And I am at the Deb Method everywhere. And as I said before, you can go to thedebmethod.com/blog to get the recap and the links. And if you need a little bit of a kick in your goalness, you can go to thedebmethod.com/goalswithdeb or grab a copy of your goal guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals at your favorite place to buy books. And also, of course, tune in. I am live every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific with a great panel. And you can also subscribe at the Deb Method on YouTube, and you can subscribe to Goal Chat on your favorite podcast player. Goal Chat is on the Marketing Podcast Network, which also has a lot of amazing shows. So much fun.
This is great. Thank you.
All
Yes, thank you. This is great.
so much. What final thought do you want to leave people with? Barbara, final thought?
Trust in yourself, and you can do it, whatever it is.
Oh, that's my line, but you can borrow it.
Sorry, I didn't know that, Deb. Well, that you just do it was already taken. So
anyway,
Jim, how about, excuse me, how about this for this time? Make a splash with the Olympic swimming and diving.
Jim, final thought.
Well, I think Larry's helped marketing for relatable. I'm going to say, be real, relatable, and relevant as you build your know, like, and trust.
Okay, you cannot take Larry's. You
I-
need
you're
to
giving
go.
Larry
No,
credit.
that you know what? It was all good because he's going to start paying me royalties now.
That's
Well,
right.
perfect
That's right.
then.
I'm giving him credit.
It's all good.
Okay, be the 3 R's for your know, like, and trust. Works for me. And Larry, final thought.
Here's a final statement. How's this? It's just my beliefs in this, but I believe people would rather connect and do business with a sales professional who sells from the heart as opposed to a sales rep who's an empty suit.
Like it.
Well, and you've obviously tapped into something that that everybody needs, because whenever you talk about selling from the heart, I think of really all those icky, oily people that you feel like you need to have a shower
Yep.
after you have a conversation. And the fact that there is a better way and you've made that your business, I think is so important, because we need, in this crazy world, we need good. And good, where does good come from? The heart.
Absolutely.
Thank you all so much,
you're
Barbara
welcome.
Drady,
Thank you.
Larry
Thank you.
Levine, Jim Fuhs for joining me. Thank you for tuning into Goal Chat. Again, I am live every Monday at 4 p.m. on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And you can subscribe at the Deb Method everywhere and Goal Chat at your favorite podcast platform. So go, trust yourself, trust others, find people you trust so you can build wonderful things to have that life that you want. Go on out there and go for it, because we know you can do it.